Hello, this is Jim Duffy of Refining Fire Chiles. I wanted to do a more recent Scotch bonnet video to show you comparisons and some differences and go over some of the differences. So this is Scotch Bonnet Truth Part 2. Now it's always nice if I had piles and piles of each one of the peppers, but I wouldn't be able to put them all on one table or get a good video outdoors here on my deck. So out here with the dogs, what the doggies doing. So I just decided to get a sample of a few of each, and we'll go through them all right now. Okay, this is the MOA Scotch Bonnet Yellow, and you can see you will get some kind of bonnet shapes, but you will also get some just kind of globe-shaped peppers with big folds in the flesh or ridges. So that's the MOA Scotch Bonnet Yellow. MOA stands for Ministry of Agriculture. That's supposed to be the official chili of Jamaica for chili agriculture. Okay? I got my seeds through CARDI, Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, which has offices in all the Caribbean islands, including Jamaica. So I know I got the real deal. It's 2023 now. I got the seeds for this probably, 8-9 years ago. Then we have the MOA Red. Now, the MOA Red, I do not believe is a true red variant of the MOA Yellow, because there's so many variations in the MOA Red, more variations than there are in the MOA Yellow, and the pods can get a lot bigger, like these two beasts right here. You will get some bonnet shapes on the MOA Red. I got my seeds from a man named Kyle Contreras, and he got them in a trade with somebody. So I couldn't trace back to who he got them from. But you will get some bonnet shapes occasionally. And you'll just get some big fat shapes with folds in the flesh. So that's your MOA Scotch Bonnet Red. MOA Scotch Bonnet Red is your hottest Scotch bonnet, other than the chocolate Scotch bonnet, which to me has a Scotch bonnet shape, but it's just a variation shape of the chocolate habanero, which some islanders call a chocolate Scotch bonnet anyway, because of the large folds in the flesh. Keep in mind that a lot of Scotch bonnets do not have a bonnet shape. They just have large folds in the flesh, and they're big chilies. And the natives in the Caribbean islands, there's a lot of Caribbean islands, call those Scotch bonnets. So you can't argue with me, argue with them. Go down there and argue with them, see how far you get. Then over here we have the Foodarama Yellow. Now the Foodarama Yellow Scotch bonnet was discovered by Beth Boyd, who passed away, I believe, in 2013 or 2015. And she was known as the Chili Queen or the Ahi Queen. A very popular person in chili culture in the United States. She lived close to Houston, Texas, and she found these chilies in a market called Foodarama, or a store called Foodarama, down in that area. Now, the Foodarama Scotch bonnet, one thing I can tell you about the Foodarama Scotch bonnet, they'll get a little bit more orange to the color as they ripen longer. But out of all the Scotch bonnets, the Foodarama and the Foodarama Red have more of the flying saucer shape, percentage-wise. So you'll get 80% or better the peppers on the plant will have the bonnet shape, close to 80%. Whereas the MOAs, it might be only about 30%, 40%. It depends on growing conditions, because growing conditions can change the shape and size of your pod. And there's a lot of things that come into growing conditions in your environment. You got humidity, dew point, altitude, water, rainfall, feeding, soil structure, blah, 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 on and on. Length of season, amount of sun. But the Foodarama Yellow have more of the flying saucer shape. And you're going to get some people who are, I'd say, ignorant or just not knowing much. And they're going to say, that's not a Scotch bonnet because it doesn't have that flying saucer shape or bonnet shape. That's not true. As I said earlier, a lot of Scotch bonnets don't even have that shape. Then we go down to the Foodarama Red, which are smaller, but again, the Foodarama Red I got my seeds from Peter Merle, Dr. Peter Merle. He lives in the Canary Islands off the coast of Africa, which is governed by Spain. And he's been involved in chili since 2001. He's been in business selling chili seeds. Been around a lot longer than me, folks. I kind of started around 2005, 2006 with seeds. I was growing peppers before that, but around 2006, I started with seeds on eBay. And so the Foodarama Red are just like the Foodarama Yellow. They're smaller. We don't know if it's a direct variant, but it's sure as hell pretty close, except for size. That's the one thing, size. The Foodarama Reds do not get near the size of the yellows, which leads me to believe it has another source. But that's the only Foodarama Reds I know about, so this is my Foodarama Reds. So they get the flying saucer shape. Now, moving along over here, we have the Scotch TFM. TFM stands for Trenton Farmers Market. There was a Caribbean market or some Caribbean people selling Scotch bonnets in a market in Trenton, New Jersey. And that's where these peppers were seen. And people bought them. A lot of people on a chili group called the Hot Pepper Forum, like my friend Nigel Carter, a renowned grower, master grower, and who lives in California. And that's where I got my seeds from. And others were trading these seeds to Trenton Farmers Market. Now, you notice they're very, very close to MOAs. Let's bring an MOA over. So you can see MOA, TFM, MOA, TFM. Now, what makes the Trenton Farmers Market Scotch Bonnet? In my opinion, since I've been growing it for about 8 years or more, what makes it different? Well, it's got a different flavor than the MOA and the Foodarama. It's kind of a little bit sweeter, but the one thing that makes it stand out is these are small peppers of Scotch TFM or Trenton Farmers Market. Out of all my yellow-orange Scotch bonnets that we're showing here, we'll get to these in a minute. The TFMs, I have gotten some monster peppers from, and I mean monster peppers, like hand grenades. So the TFM has given me the largest. The Foodarama yellows have given me the more of the flying saucers bonnet shape. MOAs, I would say, have given me some of the best production. Now, moving along here, we have the Papa Drey Scotch bonnet. Now, Papa Drey was by a man named Aaron, and he went back and forth to Jamaica. He was a musician, and he got Scotch bonnets from there and brought them back to his home and grew Scotch bonnets and selected the best Scotch bonnets year after year after year. He did this for years, and he called it Scotch Bonnet Select. His nickname was P. Drey, short for Papa Drey, and so this is the Papa Drey Scotch bonnet. Now, as you can see, we definitely have some similarity between this and the TFM. All of these came from Jamaica and the Caribbean, so you're going to have similarity. Mosquito wants to bite me. That's MOA Scotch bonnet. That's the Foodarama yellow, which looks really different than the others. Although you can see this MOA, it's kind of close to the Foodarama in shape. See that? So this is the Papa Drey. So I got my seeds from Gary Montcalm, Louisiana, who knew Aaron personally. And his story about who he is on my website at superhotchilies.com. So if you want to read the whole story about the guy who selected these Scotch bonnets. Now, what's the difference between the Papa Drey and these others? Well, out of all my yellow-orange Scotch bonnets, the TFM are the largest I've seen. The MOA have been some of the most productive. The Foodaramas have more of the flying saucer shape or bonnet shape. The Papa Drey have the most heat. Now, that's just my opinion. It's been the opinion of a few other people. Nothing's been sent to a lab, so nothing's 100%. And the Papa Drey are very productive as well. These are all productive. All my Scotch bonnets have always been productive. So the Papa Drey has given me the most heat. Now, on all these Scotch bonnets, you will get some bonnet shapes depending on growing conditions. You'll also get the big wrinkled grooves or folds in the flesh like that, and get a globe-shaped pepper, kind of a more round-shaped pepper. So you're going to see these variations in all of these Scotch bonnets. But again, if you want to grow a Scotch bonnet that has the ideal bonnet flying saucer shape, then grow the Foodaramas. You're going to see that more often. I also have a Scotch bonnet that I got from Janie at chiliplants.com probably about 15 years ago, 14 years ago. And they're very close to these yellow oranges as well. I just call it Scotch bonnet. So on my website, if you just see Scotch bonnet for seeds, that's it. And it looks almost exactly like all these other yellow orange ones. So there's no need for me to put it out. I don't have any with me right now because I'm growing in another location, those. So, but Papa Drey, Scotch TFM, Foodarama yellow, Foodarama red, MOA yellow, MOA red. And I would say MOA red has the most variations. I've even got some with scorpion tails on MOA red. But you can get little scorpion tails on these Scotch bonnets. Just telling you, it happens all the time. Now, moving along here, we're going to go to another one, which is very consistent in its look, which is the Scotch bonnet Freeport Orange. I got my seeds from Stefan van Gelder in the Netherlands. He had a website a long time ago called Tasty Seeds, and that's where I got my Scotch Brain, and I got the Scotch Freeport Orange, which a guy, again, on the hot pepper forum, who he knew, was the person who originally went to the Bahamas and got the seeds, because these are from Freeport Islands, Bahamas. Very similar to Bohemian Goat, except Bohemian Goat has a lighter rose color and is much hotter. And these are sweeter. So this is the Scotch bonnet Freeport Orange. So as you can see, the Freeport Orange, definitely they all pretty much, most of your peppers, about 80% of them are going to have this kind of bonnet looking shape, which is almost kind of like a scorpion shape, which leads me to believe that the Trinidad Scorpion is really a 7-pot Scotch bonnet cross that happened, I don't know, 100 years ago, a couple hundred years ago, because scorpions have that bonnet shape, and 7-pot has the heat, so you put together, you got a scorpion. That's just my thing. And now, the Chili Pepper Institute did DNA testing on scorpions and 7-pots back in 2011 and found them to be related. That's why I believe what I just said, okay? Now over here we have a new Scotch bonnet. We don't know if this is the result of a cross, because the guy we got it from, I can't provide much information. And we got our seeds from Sven Martens, and I believe he's in Germany. And he's a master chili grower. He kind of dropped out of the scene the last year or two. This year's 2023, by the way. So when I say last year or two, he hasn't been growing much. But now he's starting to grow again. And this is the cream Scotch bonnet. It's got a very, very upfront heat. Very, very upfront heat. Similar to a giant white habanero, which this might be a Scotch bonnet cross with a giant white habanero. I do not know. So I don't know what made this. White peppers, by the way, are usually the results of crossing. They're not something that just happens. Reds and yellows are recessive genes, and so are browns in peppers. So every red pepper has recessive genes of brown and yellow. Every yellow has red and brown, blah, 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 etc., etc. So out of all these, I would say these and these, the reds are the hottest ones. These heats are going to be medium level, habanero heat, medium level. They're all fruity sweet. All of these peppers are fruity sweet. Some are more sweet than others. They all taste different. Even though these and these and these look a lot alike, they're different flavored. It depends on how sensitive your palate is. If you're somebody that eats just black pepper and salt on their meals and no other kind of spice, then you probably won't be able to tell the difference between anything, because you don't really have a sensitive palate, sensitive taste. Now the Freeport Orange are milder than anything on this table, and they're very fruity sweet, and they are in my top 5 of favorite peppers. In my business, I collect the seeds out of peppers. So what do I do with the peppers when I'm done? Well, I usually make fresh salsa out of them, and I share with my friends and neighbors, people at church, and my employees. But Freeport Orange, after we get the seeds out of Freeport Orange, I keep them all. I keep all those peppers. I freeze them. That's for me, because it's one of my favorites. But I love all the Scotch bonnets, so I would honestly say that I have a lot of Scotch bonnets in my freezer as well. I don't really save the reds because it's got a little bit more heat than I like. So if you're looking for heat in Scotch bonnets, grow the red types. So anyway, I suggest you grow all these types and find out what your favorite is, because then you'll know. Don't listen to everybody, including me or anybody on YouTube, that this is the best Scotch bonnet. This is the hottest Scotch bonnet. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Grow these, taste these, and you decide which one's your favorite. They're all very productive, so that I can say. They all have a fruitiness, that I can say. But heat-wise and flavor-wise, you're going to have to make the decision which you like. So this is Jim Duffy, Refining Fire Chiles. I hope you've learned a little bit more about Scotch bonnets. You all take care now. And this is our video series called Peppers 101. So subscribe so you can see more educational videos on chilies. And hit the bell notification, and please like the videos. Thank you. God bless you all. Take care. Grow Scotch bonnets.